Let's be brutally honest, evil doesn't always come with horns, glowing red eyes, and a thunderstorm in the background. Sometimes she walks into your life with a warm smile, soft words, and eyes that promise safety, until you realize they were never looking at you, they were looking through you. You might think you're too smart to be manipulated, too strong to be controlled, but here's the uncomfortable truth. The most dangerous people in your life are rarely the ones you see coming. And when it's an evil woman, her power lies not in brute force, but in precision. Surgical strikes to your confidence, your peace, your very sense of self. If you ignore the early signs, you won't notice her claws until they're already around your throat. But if you know what to look for, you can spot her before she destroys you from the inside out. Pay close attention, because what you learn here might just save you from years of silent destruction. She doesn't just stumble upon your insecurities, she hunts for them. In every conversation, every shared moment, she's quietly scanning for cracks in your armor. The things you casually mention, the subtle reactions you think no one notices, the way your voice changes when a certain topic comes up, she's filing it all away. This isn't curiosity, it's reconnaissance. An evil woman understands that the fastest way to break someone isn't by attacking their strengths, but by striking directly at the places they've worked hardest to protect. And because she knows you'll instinctively shield those vulnerable spots, she approaches them with a softness that feels safe. She pretends to relate, to understand, to comfort, until you start to trust her with the deepest, rawest parts of who you are. That's when the real game begins. Once she has your vulnerabilities mapped out, she doesn't need to constantly attack you. Just the occasional, perfectly timed reminder is enough to keep you doubting yourself. Maybe it's a quiet remark in front of others, or a subtle question that makes you second-guess your decisions. It's never loud enough to be called obvious abuse, but it's precise enough to make you feel a little smaller each time. She feeds off that shrinking because the smaller you feel, the easier you are to control. The psychology behind this is simple but brutal. People are far more likely to comply, tolerate mistreatment, and silence their own needs when their self-esteem has been strategically weakened. When you start to believe you are flawed beyond repair, you stop fighting for better treatment. That's why recognizing this pattern is not just important, it's survival. You must train yourself to see when someone's support feels more like surveillance, when their concern is really a quiet dissection of your soul. The truth is, your weaknesses are part of you, but they are not weapons unless you hand them over. The moment you stop giving someone access to those sacred places inside you, you reclaim power they can't steal back. Stand guard over your heart, your mind, and your story, because the right person will never need to use them against you. Evil often hides behind the mask of generosity, and nowhere is that more deceptive than in the woman who gives, not out of love, but as a calculated investment. At first, her acts of kindness feel genuine, even overwhelming. She may help you in moments of need, offer resources, comfort, or opportunities, and you start to believe you've found someone who truly cares. But beneath the surface, every gesture is recorded like an entry in an invisible ledger. She is not giving to uplift you. She is giving to own you. The transaction is disguised as compassion, but the payment she expects is far more expensive than anything you could have imagined. Psychologically, this strategy is rooted in creating dependency. Humans are wired to feel gratitude and reciprocity when someone helps us. It's a natural bond builder. But in the hands of someone with malicious intent, that bond becomes a chain. She ensures her kindness arrives in moments when you are most vulnerable, when the emotional weight of her help will be heaviest. The more she gives in those moments, the deeper you feel you owe her. And in that unspoken debt lies her control. She doesn't need to demand loyalty outright. You will feel compelled to offer it yourself, afraid of seeming ungrateful. This is where the danger escalates. Over time, you will find yourself compromising your values, altering your decisions, and tolerating treatment you would normally reject, all because of what she has done for you in the past. You will hear her voice in your mind, reminding you of her sacrifices. And when she finally calls in her favor, you'll convince yourself you have no right to refuse. This isn't kindness, it's leverage. And leverage in the wrong hands can dismantle your independence piece by piece until you no longer recognize yourself. The most insidious part of this tactic is that it preys on one of the most admirable traits a person can have: integrity. If you are someone who values loyalty and gratitude, you become the perfect target. She doesn't need to force you into compliance. You'll do it yourself. believing you're being honorable. But true honor does not mean allowing someone to control you simply because they once offered a helping hand. The gift that comes with strings attached is not a gift at all, it's bait. To protect yourself, you must learn to separate genuine kindness from manipulation. Real generosity comes with no expectation, no emotional debt, no subtle reminders of what you owe. When someone's giving feels heavy, when it comes with a lingering sense that you are now bound to them, it's not love, it's control disguised as care. And the moment you recognize this, you must reclaim your freedom by setting boundaries without guilt. Gratitude should never be a prison. If the cost of someone's kindness is your independence, then the price is far too high, and you have every right to walk away. There is a particular kind of control that does not rely on direct commands or physical dominance. It thrives in the chaos it creates. An evil woman who understands this will deliberately disrupt stability. Because a stable environment breeds clarity, and clarity is the enemy of manipulation. When life is calm, you can think clearly, assess situations logically, and make decisions based on your own values. But when confusion and conflict are constant, your mind shifts from strategic thinking to survival mode. This is exactly where she wants you. By creating tension, misunderstandings, and sudden emotional storms, she keeps you off balance, always reacting instead of acting. Psychologically, chaos works because it disrupts your mental baseline. Your sense of what is normal begins to shift. If every day feels like you're walking into an emotional minefield, you start adjusting your behavior just to avoid explosions. You compromise, you silence yourself, you accept treatment you would never tolerate under normal circumstances, all to keep the peace that never actually comes. This is not accidental, it's conditioning. She's training you to be predictable in your submission, while keeping her own actions unpredictable enough that you can never fully prepare. The drama she stirs can be subtle or overt. Sometimes it's explosive arguments over trivial matters. Other times it's planting seeds of doubt about people in your life, creating rifts in your support system. The more she fractures your relationships and your inner stability, the more you look to her for cues on how to navigate the chaos. This dependence is the real prize she's after. You may believe you're holding things together, but in reality she's holding the strings, deciding when to pull and when to release. The hidden danger here is that over time, chaos becomes your new normal. You stop questioning it because you've adapted to constant emotional turbulence. You might even start mistaking her erratic behavior for passion or deep emotional investment. But let's be clear, love does not thrive in destruction. True connection builds peace, not panic. If someone keeps you in a perpetual state of emotional firefighting, they are not nurturing you. They are wearing you down. Breaking free from this cycle requires a conscious decision to step outside the storm she creates. That means refusing to engage in her manufactured drama, refusing to explain yourself endlessly, and refusing to let her dictate the emotional tone of your life. You must rebuild your mental baseline by seeking spaces and people who offer stability. The more grounded you become, the less power chaos has over you. Remember this, she cannot control what she cannot confuse. The moment you recognize that her chaos is not a byproduct of personality but a deliberate strategy, you take back the ability to think clearly. And when your mind is clear, you see her game for what it is, and you no longer have to play it. One of the most dangerous qualities of an evil woman is her ability to twist morality until you can no longer trust your own sense of right and wrong. She operates in a world where ethics are fluid, not because she doesn't know the difference between good and bad, but because she refuses to be bound by it. In her mind, rules apply to everyone else, never to her. And when her actions cross a line, she doesn't apologize or admit fault. Instead, she skillfully flips the narrative until you are the one feeling guilty for questioning her. This is not simple lying, it's moral inversion, a psychological tactic that leaves you confused, doubting, and ultimately compliant. At first, this might look like harmless justification. She might tell a small lie and explain that it was necessary to protect someone's feelings. She might break a promise and claim it was in everyone's best interest. But these small distortions are training exercises for your conscience. She is conditioning you to accept that the lines between honesty and deception, loyalty and betrayal, fairness and selfishness are blurred. The more you accept these blurred lines, the easier it becomes for her to commit larger violations without triggering your resistance. What makes this tactic so potent is that it attacks one of your most powerful defenses, your moral compass. Most people rely on their innate sense of right and wrong to navigate relationships and set boundaries. If she can scramble that compass, she removes your ability to stand against her behavior. She will use emotional appeals, half-truths, and selective storytelling to make you doubt your own judgment. And when you start thinking, maybe I overreacted, or maybe I'm the one in the wrong, she has achieved exactly what she wanted. The longer you stay in her orbit, the more you adapt to her version of reality. Acts you would have once condemned become easier to rationalize, simply because you've been taught to see them through her lens. You might even find yourself defending her to others, repeating the very justifications she fed you. That's when the trap is fully set. You're no longer just tolerating her twisted morality, you're carrying it for her. Escaping this grip requires a fierce commitment to reclaiming your own moral clarity. That means trusting your gut, even when her words sound convincing. If something feels wrong, it probably is, no matter how eloquently she argues otherwise. It means refusing to let her redefine truth to suit her actions. You must remind yourself that integrity is non-negotiable, and anyone who asks you to abandon it is not an ally. They are a threat. The real power lies in refusing to play by her rules. When you hold firm to your values, you become impossible to manipulate through guilt or confusion. And once you refuse to let someone rewrite your sense of right and wrong, you have already taken back more power than she ever wanted you to realize you had. An evil woman often hides her most destructive weapon in something that looks harmless: curiosity. But this is not the kind of curiosity that comes from wanting to understand you. It is the calculated gathering of information she can later weaponize. In the beginning, her questions seem flattering. She appears deeply interested in your past, your dreams, your struggles, and the people in your life. She listens attentively, creating the illusion of trust and intimacy. But what she is really doing is building a detailed map of your emotional landscape. She notes where the land is solid and where it is fragile, where the boundaries are firm and where they can be pushed. Every detail you give her is a future opportunity for leverage. This tactic works so effectively because people naturally open up to those who make them feel seen and understood. Vulnerability can be a beautiful part of human connection, but in the wrong hands, it becomes a trap. By encouraging you to share your life story, she positions herself as the person who knows you best. That kind of position holds enormous psychological power, because people often hesitate to challenge someone who holds their secrets. You begin to believe that she understands you better than others, which lowers your guard further. The more you reveal, the more invested you feel in maintaining the relationship, even when red flags begin to appear. The danger lies in how she uses this stored knowledge. At first, she may only reference small details in playful or seemingly innocent ways. But as the relationship deepens, she will start to drop these facts in moments designed to shake you. A private fear you once shared in confidence might resurface during an argument, thrown back at you with precision. A personal failure you confessed might suddenly become ammunition to undermine your credibility in front of others. These are not accidents. They are deliberate reminders that she has access to your most vulnerable truths, and she is not afraid to use them. What makes this so psychologically damaging is the erosion of safe space. Once you realize your deepest confessions are not sacred in her presence, you start censoring yourself. You stop expressing feelings, asking for help, or being authentic because you know that anything you say could be twisted later. Over time, this self-censorship drains your energy and isolates you emotionally. The result is a relationship where you are always guarded, always performing, never fully yourself, and that's exactly where she wants you. The way to dismantle this control is to guard your personal information as fiercely as your physical safety. Trust must be earned slowly, through consistent actions that prove someone values your privacy and respects your vulnerability. Not everyone who asks about your life deserves the answers. The power you hold is in deciding what parts of yourself remain yours alone. Once you stop giving her the raw material for her manipulation, her influence begins to dissolve. An evil woman's most insidious advantage is her ability to thrive in the shadows of your doubt. She does not need to prove she is right, she only needs to make you question whether you are. This is the essence of gaslighting, a deliberate, calculated attack on your perception of reality. It starts subtly, so subtly that you may not even recognize it at first. She might deny something she clearly said, suggest you misunderstood an obvious event, or insist your memory is faulty. In the moment, you may dismiss it as miscommunication, but each denial is another thread pulling at the fabric of your certainty. Over time, you begin to wonder if you can trust your own thoughts, your own eyes, your own truth. This tactic is devastating because it attacks the very foundation of your independence, your ability to rely on yourself. When you can no longer trust your own mind, you have no choice but to lean on someone else's version of events, and she is more than happy to provide it. She will position herself as the voice of reason, the one who can help you remember correctly or explain what really happened. You start to defer to her perspective more and more, not because she has earned that authority, but because you've been made to feel yours is unreliable. The genius of this manipulation is that it doesn't require constant confrontation. She doesn't have to fight you head on. She only has to plant small seeds of uncertainty and let them grow. Each time you question yourself, you reinforce her position of power. And because she often mixes these distortions with moments of warmth or affection, you are less likely to label her actions as abuse. You may even believe she's helping you become more self-aware, when in reality, she's dismantling your ability to stand on your own 2 feet. The longer this continues, the deeper the psychological damage. Doubt becomes your default state. Decisions take longer because you feel the need to consult her or others for validation. You apologize more often, even when you've done nothing wrong, because somewhere inside you fear that you've simply misunderstood again. This chronic self-questioning is exhausting, and that exhaustion makes you easier to control. Breaking free from this requires an uncompromising commitment to your own truth. You must start documenting your experiences, keeping a mental or even written record of what is real so her denials cannot erase it. You must learn to pause before accepting her version of events, asking yourself whether her interpretation serves her more than it serves the truth. Most importantly, you must remind yourself daily that your perception is valid, your memory is valuable, and your voice is worth trusting. The moment you reclaim the right to believe your own mind, you strip her of her greatest weapon. Without your doubt, she loses her shadows. And without her shadows, she has nowhere left to hide. One of the most cunning disguises an evil woman wears is the mask of concern. On the surface, her words seem caring, protective, even selfless. She may tell you she's only looking out for your best interests, warning you against risks or people she claims could harm you. But beneath that gentle tone lies something far darker: envy. Her concern is not born from love, but from fear. Fear that you might grow beyond her reach, fear that your success might outshine her, fear that your independence will expose her lack of control. This is why her advice so often feels like discouragement dressed as wisdom. The psychology behind this is rooted in competition. When someone operates from a place of envy, your progress threatens their sense of identity and power. Every step you take forward reminds them of what they haven't achieved or what they fear losing. An evil woman channels this discomfort into subtle sabotage, positioning herself as your protector while quietly clipping your wings. She will use phrases that sound rational. "I'm just worried you'll get hurt," or "Are you sure you're ready for that?" But the true message is that she doesn't want you to try, because trying means changing, and changing means possibly outgrowing her influence. This tactic is so effective because it preys on your trust. When someone close to you voices concern, you instinctively listen. You want to believe they see dangers you cannot, that they're guiding you toward safety. And sometimes that's true. But in her case, the danger she warns you about is your own empowerment. If she can make you doubt yourself at the moment you're about to step into growth, she can keep you exactly where she wants you, dependent, hesitant, and contained. Over time, you may begin to internalize her doubts as your own. You start avoiding opportunities, turning down challenges, or holding back from your full potential, not because you truly believe you can't succeed, but because her voice has replaced your own inner confidence. She has planted the seed of self-limitation, and you water it every time you listen to her disguised warnings. The truth you must embrace is that real concern empowers, not restrains. Genuine care celebrates your courage, even while acknowledging risks. It encourages you to prepare and to learn, not to stand still. If someone's concern consistently leaves you feeling smaller, weaker, or less capable, it's not concern, it's control. You owe no loyalty to the insecurities of another person, especially when they are disguised as advice meant to protect you. To break free from this trap, you must separate your decisions from her influence. Thank her for her input if you must, but follow your own path regardless. Trust the fire inside you more than the fears of someone who profits from keeping it dim When you choose growth over permission, you send a clear message. Your life will not be defined by the limits someone else places on it. An evil woman understands that true control is not achieved by constant pressure, but by rationing it. She knows if she gives you too much affection, too much validation, too much approval, you will feel secure and start to stand on your own. So instead, she keeps you emotionally hungry. She offers just enough warmth to keep you attached, but never enough to make you feel complete. It's a psychological push and pull that creates dependency, training you to chase her attention like a reward. You begin to live for those rare moments when she finally gives you what you crave, even if the rest of the time she leaves you cold. This works because the human brain is wired to respond powerfully to intermittent reinforcement. If you knew she would always be kind, you would take it for granted. If she were always cruel, you would eventually walk away. But when kindness comes unpredictably, it triggers a powerful attachment loop. You keep trying, hoping that this time your effort will earn her affection, and when that rare smile or compliment comes, it feels intoxicating, almost addictive. You mistake relief for love, not realizing that she is controlling the supply to keep you hooked. Over time, this cycle begins to alter how you see yourself. You start to measure your worth based on her reactions. If she withdraws, you assume you've done something wrong. If she gives attention, you believe you've finally done something right. Your emotional state becomes tied to her mood, her approval, her unpredictable generosity. This is not a relationship, it's conditioning, and the longer it continues, the harder it is to break free. The danger here is that she never has to explicitly demand your loyalty. You give it willingly because you're always chasing the next high of being good enough in her eyes. She controls your behavior without overt threats or commands, just by controlling when and how she gives you what you need. It is a silent manipulation, but its effects are loud in your life. Anxiety when she's distant, elation when she's kind, and a slow erosion of your ability to define your own worth without her input. The truth is, love and validation should never feel like rare rewards you have to earn. Genuine connection is steady, consistent, and unconditional. If someone is making you feel like you must constantly prove yourself to receive the bare minimum of emotional care, that's not love. It's power disguised as affection. You must be willing to walk away from anyone who turns your heart into a ration commodity. Reclaiming your strength begins with deciding that your value is not dependent on how much attention someone chooses to give you. You are not meant to be fed in scraps of kindness. You are worthy of steady, overflowing love. The moment you stop chasing her crumbs, you open yourself to a life where you never go emotionally hungry again. An evil woman's control is often most exposed when you try to live without her. As long as your world revolves around her, she feels secure in her power. But the moment you start creating happiness, success, or peace outside of her influence, she perceives it as a threat. This is because her dominance depends on being the center of your emotional universe. If you find fulfillment beyond her, her relevance begins to fade, and that is something she will not tolerate. Her response is rarely direct at first. She might disguise her interference as concern, distraction, or even support. But underneath it all, her goal is clear: sabotage your independence before it fully takes root. Psychologically, this reaction is rooted in possession. In her mind, your time, energy, and loyalty are resources she owns. When you invest them elsewhere, whether in new relationships, career growth, personal hobbies, or inner healing, you are breaking the unspoken contract she believes you've made. She interprets your autonomy not as a natural part of personal growth, but as a betrayal. This belief fuels her need to pull you back into her orbit, even if it means undermining your progress. Her methods can vary. She may plant seeds of doubt in your mind about the choices you're making. She may subtly criticize your new pursuits, making them seem less valuable or less achievable. She may create crises that force you to shift your attention back to her, ensuring that your focus never drifts too far away. At times, she may even try to outshine or compete with you, turning what should be your moments of pride into silent battles for dominance. The danger in this dynamic is that it can make you unconsciously sabotage yourself. If every time you move toward independence, she responds with conflict, guilt, or emotional withdrawal, you may start avoiding those steps altogether. Without realizing it, you train yourself to stay smaller, quieter, and less ambitious just to keep the peace. But this peace is not real. It is submission, and it comes at the cost of your personal freedom. The truth you must face is that anyone who cannot celebrate your independence is not someone who truly supports you. Genuine love allows space for growth, even if that growth means you no longer need them in the same way. If a person reacts to your success with jealousy, criticism, or sabotage, they are showing you that their love is conditional on your dependence. And conditional love is not love, it is control wearing a mask. To break free, you must commit to your own expansion, regardless of how she responds. Accept that her disapproval is not a sign you are doing something wrong. It is proof that you are breaking the chains she has worked so hard to keep in place. The more you step into your own life unapologetically, the less power she has. Independence is not just freedom, it is the ultimate act of reclaiming yourself. An evil woman often knows that the most effective way to keep someone trapped is not through constant cruelty, but through control over their sense of possibility. She understands that if you believe you are capable, worthy, and free, you will eventually walk away. So instead, she plants seeds of limitation in your mind, using your own fears and insecurities as the soil. Her goal is simple: to make you doubt your ability to thrive without her, so you never truly try. This is why her words are often laced with subtle undermining. She might comment that you are not ready for a challenge, imply that certain dreams are unrealistic for someone like you, or suggest that you will fail without her guidance. The psychology behind this is as old as manipulation itself. Control thrives where self-belief has been eroded. By making you believe your success is conditional on her approval, help, or presence, she positions herself as the gatekeeper to your potential. Every achievement you make under her watch becomes a product of her influence in your mind. Every setback becomes proof that you were right to rely on her. It's a cycle that convinces you to stay small, because growth feels unsafe without her involvement. The trap is that this often feels like protection rather than sabotage. She may wrap her limiting beliefs in the language of care, warning you of failure so you can avoid disappointment. She may present herself as the voice of reason in a world that she claims is too harsh for you. But in truth, she is reinforcing a cage she has built around your confidence. If she can keep you afraid of stepping beyond it, she never has to worry about losing her grip. Over time, you start making choices from a place of fear rather than ambition. You might pass on opportunities, silence your own ideas, or avoid new challenges altogether. And because the discomfort of growth feels foreign, you begin to believe it is dangerous. She doesn't have to chain you to her, you begin to chain yourself. This is how deep the conditioning runs. You mistake her constraints for your own instincts. Breaking this pattern begins with the recognition that fear and danger are not the same. Growth will always feel uncomfortable, but that discomfort is proof that you are expanding, not failing. You must learn to separate her voice from your own, to question whether the limitations you feel are truly yours or the echoes of her influence. The truth is, you do not need her permission to evolve. You do not need her validation to succeed. When you start acting in defiance of the boundaries she has drawn for you, you reclaim your power in a way she cannot undo. Every step you take toward your own potential weakens the hold she has. And one day you'll look back and realize that the limits she swore were there never really existed. They were only the ones she made you believe in.